In this video, we are looking at the first practice in Book 2. So please be sure that you have Book 2 down here at the bottom. Make sure that you're using the correct workbook. There are 2 of these. And we are looking at the first practice, which is practice 24, begins on page 2. If you have not watched the instructional video for this lesson, please make sure you do that. I want you to stop this video and make sure you have seen that instruction. It's very important. We are writing algebraic expressions. Now, we learned in our vocabulary that expressions have no equal signs. So I would not expect to see equal signs in my answers. If I did, those would be equations. So we are setting up algebraic expressions. Number 1. Susan is 3 years older than Monica. Which expression, algebraic expression, represents Susan's age in relation to Monica's age? So what they're telling me is that Susan is 3 more than Monica. And they tell me that we're going to let Monica's age be the letter M. So where I see Monica, I'm going to put a letter M. 3 more than. What does more than mean? It means plus 3. So I am looking for 3 plus M. You're not going to see that in a formal algebra book. The variable should come first. M plus 3 is what we're looking for. So the answer to number 1 is B. Monica plus 3 gives me Susan's age. Excuse me, my voice is going. Number 2. The volume of a large cylinder, a cylinder is a can or can shape, is 2 cubic centimeters less than 4 times a smaller cylinder's volume, V. Which algebraic expression represents the volume of the large cylinder? So let me squeeze this in right here. I really want to write it in a straight line. It says the large cylinder's volume is 2 less than 4 times the small. I'm putting this in my own words. Let me highlight it for you in the story. Large is 2 less than 4 times the small. I'm just pulling out those words to make this expression. Now, I don't want the words large and is in there because I don't want an equal sign. So here's the expression that I'm trying to solve or to write. 2 less than 4 times the small. And they tell me that the smaller cylinder is to be the V. So instead of the word small, I'm going to put in the letter V. So we have 2 less than 4 times V. 4 times V, that's going to be 4V. Let me write it right here. 4 times V less than, and then a 2. And we have this expression ready to go. V is 4 times the small cylinder's volume, and then we're going 2 less than that. Number 3, Marshall has quarters equal to half the sum of his number of dimes and 5. Which expression represents the number of quarters Marshall has? So let's put it in our own words. Let me highlight first this time. Quarters equal half the sum of the dimes and 5. Those are the key terms that I want to pull out of here. So I'm going to write quarters equal half the sum of dimes and 5. Okay, now remember, we don't want an equal sign. These are expressions. So I'm going to take out quarters and equal. We don't want to use an equal sign. Dimes I'm going to replace with the letter D. So we have half the sum of 5 and D. Sum means add. So I can eliminate A, that's a subtraction problem. I can eliminate B, that's a subtraction problem. So it has to be C or D. What is it telling me to add? It's telling me to do the sum of 5 and D. So the answer we want is option D. The sum of 5 and D divided in half. Number 4. Casey drives 60 miles per hour for H hours. Which algebraic expression represents the number of miles that Casey drives? So the miles are 65 times the number of hours. We don't want an equal sign, so we need to take out that linking verb and the word that goes with it. So we're left with 65 times, and remember hours, whoops, I didn't mean to erase it, I meant to mark it out. Hours is the letter H. 65 times H is A. You could cross out the other options because you have B is division. We don't want to divide, we want to times. C, we don't want to add, we want to times. And D, we don't want to subtract. Number 5. Maurice deposits $500 in a checking account and he pays $2 fee per month. Which expression represents the amount of money Maurice has in his account after M months? So he makes a deposit, and then he is paying out. That's subtracting. There's the answer. You don't even have to finish setting this up if you realize that he's paying out money. But let's finish it. It's $2 per month. So his deposit is $500 minus the $2 per month, that's 2M. So I am looking for D. You start with the deposit and then you take away from that $500. Number 6. Which three algebraic expressions can be translated as 4 times the sum of x and 2. So let's see what we have here. 4 times the sum of x and 2. Well, I know that sum means addition. So I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my headphones staying on. Add x and 2. So we know that we have to do this. Now I can eliminate f because there's no addition. The others have addition, so we need to be careful with those. I'm going to go ahead and put this in parentheses and then bring down my 4 times. So let's take a look at what our choices are. I know that I need to multiply by 4. So I could eliminate D. It doesn't have multiplying by 4. I can eliminate E because it's not multiplying the x times or x plus 2 by 4. So that one is not the same. Here's the first one. X plus 2 times 4. That's the same thing. We can reverse the order if we're multiplying. So you can do that. No problem. A is correct. B is correct. And C is correct. All of those are saying exactly the same thing in terms of amount. We are multiplying the whole x plus 2 by the 4. You really need those parentheses to keep your x plus 2 together. You don't want to let those get separated. So you notice that all of these have the parentheses. Number 7. How many terms are in the algebraic expression 7x plus 3 minus 4 divided by y? Be careful. This is where that video about vocabulary is so important. With algebra, you need to have a very good vocabulary. There are 3 terms, and let me highlight them for you. There's the 7 times x, there is the plus 3, and then there's the minus 4 divided by y. So there are 3 terms in this expression. You have 2 variable terms and 1 constant term. Number 8 is a geometry question, and I strongly recommend that you draw these. You don't have to, but I would recommend it. The length of a rectangle is 5 more than 2 times its height, h. Which algebraic expression represents the length of the rectangle? So draw yourself a rectangle and label your sides with length. Usually this is called width, but in this case it's called the height. No problem. And we're going to replace the word height with the letter h because they tell me to. Height is h. So height is the letter h. That's the first thing we need to do. Then the length that we're interested in is 5 more than 2 times the height. So 5 more than, that's plus 5, 2 times height. I'm doing is bringing that phrase down here so that I can work with it. 5 more than 2 times height. So for the length, I need something very similar, if not exactly, to this one. 2h plus 5 or 5 plus 2h. And there it is. Option A is your best choice on this one. It's the only choice on this one. The other options are not saying the same thing. Number 9. Cashews cost $3.49 per ounce. Which algebraic expression represents the cost of C ounces of cashews? So the cost is going to be $3.49 per ounce. We want to buy C ounces, so 3.49 per C. That is multiplying. We want 3.49 C. You're multiplying the price per ounce times the number of ounces that you buy. That seems very expensive to me. Okay, number 10. The algebraic expression that represents the weight of a metal container based on the number of plastic cubes it holds is 3C plus 15. Which phrase represents this expression? So this time we're working backwards. They've given us the expression and we have to tell what it means. What would the word problem say if we had to write the expression? So we have the difference of 15 and the number of plastic cubes multiplied by 3. Well, difference means subtract. We are not subtracting in this problem. So this is not what we want. 3 times the difference. Again, at no point in this problem am I subtracting. So that is not the one we want. 3 times the sum of the number of plastic cubes and 15. Well, we're not multiplying. This would say this number or this expression. 3 times the sum of the number of plastic cubes and 15. That is not what we're saying at all. 15 more than. There's the one I'm looking for. Add 15 to 3 times the number of plastic cubes. So that the one that you want is D. We have to add that 15. Number 11 is another geometry question. The width of the rectangle is the quotient of the area A and 3. Which expression represents the width of the rectangle? So it's a little different. They're not concerned at all about the length in this problem. We're just looking at the width. So the only dimension we care about is right there. And it says that the width is the quotient of the area and 3. We have to know what quotient means. It means divide. So we're going to take the area and divide it by 3. And I would go with C on this one. If you just know that quotient means division, you can answer this question. Those keywords are very important. A is subtract, B is add, D is multiply. Quotient tells us to divide. Number 12. The area of a rectangle is the product of the sum of x and 4 and the sum of x and 7. Which algebraic expression represents the area of the rectangle? So here's what we need to know. Product is multiply. So I could eliminate A just on the basis of that. There's no multiplying in A. There's no multiplying in C, so we can eliminate that one as well. The product of the sum of x and 4, so that means, let me write it, sum of x and 4. Sum means add x and 4. So we've got this one. And then we have the sum of x and 7. So add x and 7. Can you see it coming together here? Add x and 7. So I have x plus 4, x plus 7, and then we need to multiply those two, and that is option D. You must know your keywords. You have to know that sum is addition, or this problem is very, very hard to do. Number 13. The length of a wall is expressed by the algebraic expression 8w plus 2. What is the coefficient in the expression? Well, again, if you've watched the instructional video, you know those definitions. The coefficient is the 8. Vocabulary is so very important. Jeremy runs 7 miles per hour for h hours. Which two expressions represent the number of miles Jeremy runs? So we have 7 per hour, and this is going to be the letter H. So 7 per h, that means 7h, or 7 times h. So here's one of them. B is division, C is division, D is subtraction, E is addition, F is multiplication. So A and F both express this same situation. Number 15. Which expression means the quotient of 5 and the sum of x and 8? So quotient of 5, sum of x and 8. So sum is add. We need to be adding x and 8. The only one of these choices that adds x to 8 is C. Quotient means division, so that makes sense. Here's the quotient of 5 and the sum of x and 8. Number 16. The height of a building is the sum of 12 times its width, W, and 26. Which algebraic expression represents the height of the building? So we want the sum, add 12 times its width, W, and 26. So the first thing I need to do is this part. I need to say 12 times W and then add 26. 12 times W and add 26. That's going to be A. 12 times its width plus 26. Kelly takes 4 hours to drive M miles. Which expression represents the number of miles Kelly drives per hour? Now, you know, if you've been with me for very long, I always draw something that's moving. And she's definitely moving. So her total distance is M miles, and it took her 4 hours to do that. So we're looking for each of these increments. They would be the same if she kept the same speed. M divided 4 ways is what I'm looking for here. We know the total. We know that the total is M, and we know how long it took her to drive M. So this one is a division problem. The weight of a basket of peaches is 1 plus the quotient of the number of peaches, P, and 4. Which algebraic expression represents the weight of the basket of peaches? So we have 1 plus the quotient of the number of peaches and 4. Now I see the word quotient in there, so I know that there's division involved. I can eliminate A and B. Right? We know that there's no division in those two. So if I just had to guess the answer, I'm guessing from 2 choices instead of 4. That's going to help me. But let's see if we can write this down and figure out what they're looking for. So we have 1 plus the quotient of the number of peaches, that's P, and 4. So I'm going to start right here. The quotient of P and 4 is P divided by 4. And then I'm going to add 1 to that. So 1 plus P over 4 is option C. Number 19. The volume of a cylinder is the product of the area and 13. Which algebraic expression represents the volume of the cylinder? The product of the area and 13. Product means multiply. So the only one of these that shows multiplying is D. We multiply the area times 13. And finally, Earl makes $95 for working H hours. Which expression represents the dollars per hour Earl makes? We know the total and we're breaking it down. So it has to be subtraction or division if we're breaking it down. And we don't want to subtract his hours, we want to divide to find out how much he makes per hour. So I would go with B on this one. Another clue here is per hour. You're looking for a unit rate, the rate for 1 hour. There was another one of those. Here it is in number 17. Per hour is a unit rate, and that means to divide. So that can help also. I would say that this lesson is very tough. If you are having trouble with this or if you have questions, please reach out to your instructor because this is difficult. This is a new way of thinking for a lot of people. In the next video, I believe we will be working with evaluating expressions and formulas, which means we'll actually be doing some math. And I believe you need a calculator for that one. Let's just double check that so that you will have that ready. Yes, in practice 25, you will be able to use your calculator. If you're ever in doubt about whether you should be using the calculator, please ask your instructor, and he or she can tell you if you need to be. Okay, I'll see you soon. Have a great day.